Natana Puro Premam Vitam Bonite Krishna Kirtan Jananatana Puro Premam Vitam Bonite Dira dira jano priyo priyakaro niramatsaro putito Dira dira jano priyo priyakaro niramatsaro Shri Chaitanya Kripavo Shri Chaitanya Kripavaro Bhuvibhuvo Bharavahantharako Shri Chaitanya Kripavaro Bhuvibhuvo Vande Rupa Sanatano Bhagushato Shri Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugo Shri Gopalako Shastra Vicharanaikanipano Sadharma Samstapako Nana Shastra Vicharanaikanipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam itakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Lokanam itakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghushako Shri Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghushako Shri Gopalako Shri Gauranga Gunananavido Shraddha Samvidyanvito Shri Gauranga Gunananavido Shraddha Samvidyanvito Papotaka Chintanotanu Vitang Govinda Ganamitai
Ahodani Krishna Tanubrita Govinda Namrita
Anandam Bodhi Vadanakanipuno Kaivalya Nistarako
Anandam Buddhi Vardhane Kanipuno Kaivalya Nistarako
Mandirupa Sanatano Raghujago Jiva Gopako
Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako
Chakraturnam Ashesha Mandalapati Shrening Sadat Tushavat
Yadvatu Namashesha Mandalapati Shrenim Saratu Shava
Udvadina Ganeshako Kurunaya Kaupena Kantashito
Buddhadina Ganesha Karunaya Kopina Kantashito
Gopi Baba Asangvitabdilahari Kalola Magno Maho
Gopi Baba Rasamrita Dirahari Karura Manamu
Vande Upasanatano Raghujago Shiva Gopalko
Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako
Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujago Shri Jiva Gopalko
Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Jai Shri Gosvami ki Jai, Shri Gosvami astakam ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai, both I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Dasa Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Thus, they are engaged in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material universe. Does everyone understand English? Is everyone okay? I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of, because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis. It's an interesting sentence. That's why they're worth taking shelter of. You may forget that. Because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis, therefore they're worth taking shelter of. And they were engaged in a transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, who are very much enriched in understanding of Lord Chaitanya, and who are those expert in narrating his transcendental qualities. They can purify all conditioned souls from the reactions of their sinful activities by pouring upon them transcendental songs about Govinda. It's also a nice meditation. They counteract the sinful activities by pouring songs about Govinda upon people. As such, they are very expert in increasing the limits of the ocean of transcendental bliss. And they are the saviors of the living entities from the devouring mouth of liberation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, who kicked off all association of aristocracy as insignificant, in order to deliver the poor conditioned souls. They accepted loincloths, this little tiny piece of cloth and no other clothes at all, and treating themselves as mendicants, but they are always merged in the ecstatic ocean of the gopis' love for Krishna, and bathe always and repeatedly in the waves of that ocean. That's the first 4 verses. Of course, there are 4 more verses. It takes another 15 minutes to go through those 4 verses. We'll leave it at that for now. And we'll read from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna wills, from the chapter called Adi Lila. And this chapter is dealing with the various branches of Lord Chaitanya's mission. Lord Chaitanya is, in one sense, he's the whole tree, but especially he's the trunk, you could say, of that tree, from which many branches are coming out, big ones and then smaller ones, and so on, branches from branches, but they're all resting on the trunk of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And those branches, if they're properly connected to the trunk, will produce fruits. And they can produce unlimited varieties of fruits. not like an ordinary tree of this world. So the branches are here describe the individual followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Each of them is a branch, or a branch from a branch, and they're all producing various kinds of fruits in the form, or love of God, we could say, in the form of fruits. So today we're going to hear, I think it'll just be Gopal Bhatta Goswami today, text number 104 and 105. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Inha. Is that on the board, on the screen? Sabar Yaiche Haila Prabhur Milana Age Vishtarya Taha Kariba Vanana Inha Sabara Yaiche Haila Prabhura Milana Age Vistariya Taha Karivanana Inha Sabara Yaiche Haila Prabhura Milana Age Vistariya Taha Karivanana Inha Sabara Yaiche Haila Prabhura Milana Age Vistariya Taha Kariva Varnana Inha Sabara Yaiche Haila Prabhura Milana Age Vistariya Taha Kariva Varnana Inha Sabara Yaiche Hail Prabhur Milana Age Vistariya Taha Kariva Varnana Inha Sabara Yaiche Hail Prabhur Milana Age Vistariya Taha Kariva Varnana Inha Sabara Yaiche Hail Prabhur Milana Age Vistariya Taha Kariva Varnana Inha Sabara Yaiche Hail Prabhur Milana Ladies, any ladies? No? Any quiet? Ahivistariyata Karibhavana. I thought you stayed in Bologna. Late night, huh? Oh, okay. In ha of them. Sabara all. Yaiche as. Haila became. Prabhu of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Milana meeting. Age later on. Vistaria expanding. It used to be an airline, Vistara Airlines. But it didn't expand, it merged. It merged into Air India. They took over one airline. They had the wrong name. What they call Moksha Airlines. Yeah, it's a good airline name, Moksha Airlines. Taha, that. Kariba, I shall do. Varnana, description. And this is a translation, but no purport to this verse. I shall later explain very elaborately how all these devotees met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A meeting of the devotees, Milana meeting. Well, he's going to describe this very much later on, and not maybe every single one, but many of them, how they met Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hearing about these pure devotees and their meeting with the Lord is not just purifying, but it helps to establish our connection with the Lord. We all, I'm sure, at least sentimentally, may not be with the right intention exactly, but at least sentimentally we would love to meet the Lord. And in that sense, if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going on Harinam Sankirtan today in Garsa Cell, I think everyone in this room would go, wouldn't we? We don't realize it. Oh, just Yasho, Mati, and Baba going on Harinam, and let's let them. Jivananda's going to join, and that's enough. Go with them, But if we heard that Lord Chaitanya and all of his associates were in Garsa Cell on Harinam today, we would stay back. Nervous. But I don't know what to do. This is our dull condition that we're in. So anyway, he'll explain it later how you can meet Lord, or how they met Lord Chaitanya, teaching us also how we can meet Lord Chaitanya. And there are some famous meetings with Lord Chaitanya and his associates. Particularly, I suppose we could say Rupa and Sanatana meeting. Very famous meeting with Lord Chaitanya. The humility is, we meet with Lord Chaitanya when our heart is enriched with pure humility and tolerance, respect and so on. Otherwise, one may be physically in a place, but our heart is not. Our heart is somewhere else. The heart has to be saturated. Qualification to meet the Lord. It's simple. Next verse. Shri Gopala Bhatta Eka Shaka Savotama Upasana. No need. Upasanatana Sangi Janra Prema Lapana. Okay, it's not the end of the world, don't worry, I'm not going to scream about it. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. One of the glories of modern technology, you never know what's going on. Whatever you hear, you think that's it. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the 47th branch, was one of the great and exalted branches of the tree. He always engaged in discourses. There's not much excitement here because it's all on the board, on the screen. In the old days we would try to test the devotees to see how attentive they are. But now it's all on the screen, and it's not the same as it used to be. He would always engage in discourses about love of Godhead in the company of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the son of Venkata Bhatt, a resident of Sri Rangam. And just now, somebody known to you, his name is Vedasar. Vedasar. You know Vedasar? He's German. He was here. When did he come? Last year? Sankirtan leader in Germany. You must remember him. Vedasar Brahmachari was here in Paris, but now he was in Sri Rangam. Huh? Yeah. Sri Rangam. And there at the Iskcon temple, you can go to Sri Rangam in Tamil Nadu. You can go to the house of the descendants of Venkata Bhatt, where Gopal Bhatta Goswami was born, or at least was living. And in the Iskcon temple there in Sri Rangam, they have a beautiful deity of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Beautiful. Brass, I think it looked like brass, looked like a beautiful brass deity of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Because their temple is in Sri Rangam. And the Bhatta family are very famous, of course. They were, at that time at least, they were like some of the chief priests there in the temple. Gopal Bhatta formerly belonged to the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. This is kind of exceptional amongst our acharyas, although our acharyas, many of them came from South India. Even Rupa and Sanatana descendants were from South India originally. And many of the great acharyas in other lines, like Nimbarkacharya, Vishnu Swami, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and of course the most famous Shankaracharya, they're all from South India. And they said, especially the Sri Sampradaya is very prominent amongst the Vaishnava Sampradayas. They're very, I was looking when we were just in Vrindavan, we came from Vrindavan more or less, you could say, a day or two ago, and looking out from the roof, I saw 3 Sri Sampradaya temples from the roof of the apartment that we were staying in. You could see there, Gopuram. 3 of them, I could see, just within about 500 meters of there. So even in Vrindavan now, I don't know, it's unusual, but they have the very big Ranganath temple there, of course, in the city, in the town centre, but this is in the suburbs, so they're very, very common. There's a very close connection between the Sri Sampradaya and the Sampradaya which we're in, the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya. Very close in many ways. Lord Chaitanya, he particularly when he went to Sri Rangam there and he spent more time in Sri Rangam on his tour than anywhere else. He spent 4 months there in the rainy season. And Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj also very much, appreciated the Sri Sampradaya and many of their characteristics, although they do lack in the Madhurya Rasa, of course. But in terms of certain things, they're very, especially Vaishnava Seva, where service to the devotees and service to the Guru. These 2 things are highly emphasized. Serving the devotees, highly emphasized in their line. And they're often, in the case of Gopal Bhatta, he was very learned scholars. And they also have a very ritualistic, it may be, but they're very serious about their deity worship. If if ever you've been to South India, some of you may have been, Gopal, probably you've been to Tirupati and maybe Sri Rangam and other places where the Sri Sampradaya is very prominent. And because they worship a form of the Lord, Venkateshwar, Vaikuntanath, the Lord of Vaikuntha. They're not so much into, they accept, but they don't accept as Radha and Krishna as the origin. Their Ishtadev is Lakshmi Narayan, or forms of the Lord in Vaikuntha Bhav, Shingadev and so on. So they worship in Vaikuntha Bhav, reverential, but very serious, very serious. That's their worship. And they're very respectful. Especially to Iskcon, at least where I've been, they've been very respectful. They like Prabhupada very much. Although they follow a different bhav, a different mood, still they're very, very appreciative. Lord Chaitanya's movement. So he was a member of the disciplic succession of Ramanuja, because of course in Sri Rangam, Ramanujacharya was the Acharya. That was his main seat. That's where he resided, the great Acharya of that line, great teacher of that line. And later on, however, Gopal Bhatta became a member of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the one that we're in. And I know quite a few devotees of Iskcon who joined the Sri Sampradaya. Yeah. They just, at a certain point of time, they're irresistibly attracted to the reverential worship. Whether or not this is reality or just some on-the-way sentiment, but they're intensely attached to that, path of Vaidhi. Slightly different path of Vaidhi which we follow, but not quite a few, several have gone in that direction. Or they're following it. In fact, many of our temples nowadays have employed many of the things we do nowadays. Basically, have been introduced from the Sri Sampradaya. And some of Prabhupada had the Sri Sampradaya come and do the installation, for instance, in Hyderabad when he opened the temple. Maybe I think they came in Mumbai also when they opened the temple there. Quite often they invite the priests to do some of the rituals because they're very good at that, very expert. And all the mantras, it's quite something. It's like from another universe or something. All these things, putting the hat on the head and all these various things, you do it here or not, I don't know. Yes, you do. What do you call it? I don't know. This is, is a kind of introduction after the devotees were going to visit, these temples and so on. Our worship maybe of Lord Nrsingadev in Mayapur, many things are related to the way that the Sri Sampradaya worship deities. In the year 1433, Shakubda, a little different calendar dates to our Western calendar, so to speak. It's about nearly 80 years difference, I think. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India, he stayed for 4 months during the period of Chaturmasya at the house of Venkata Bhatt, who then got the opportunity to serve the Lord to his heart's content. Gopal Bhatta also got the opportunity to serve the Lord at this time. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was later initiated. Here it says, he was initiated by his uncle, the great sannyasi Prabodhananda Saraswati. Both the father and mother of Gopal Bhatta Goswami were extremely fortunate, for they dedicated their entire lives to the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After they met him, although they still had their specific bhav, Lord Chaitanya, I don't know if it's mentioned here, I don't think so, how Lord Chaitanya debated in a loving way, in a very joyful way, almost a funny way with Venkatabat about who the Supreme Person is, the original form of Godhead. And this is a subject we may touch on or not. Let's see how much time we have. Yes. They allowed Gopalbhatta Goswami to go to Vrindavan, and they gave up their lives thinking of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Lord Chaitanya told him to stay and look after his elderly parents for some time. But eventually he went to Vrindavan, and then his parents gave up their lives thinking of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya was later informed that Gopalbhatta Goswami had gone to Vrindavan and met Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, he was very pleased, and he advised Rupa and Sanatan to accept Gopalbhatta Goswami as their younger brother and take care of him. Sri Sanatan Goswami, of his great affection for Gopalbhatta Goswami, compiled a Vaishnava Smriti named Hari Bhakti Vilas and published it under his name. Now, one of the significant features herein is that we don't really think about these things, especially if you're living in the Western world, because nobody knows anything anyway. But in India, many, at least those who are in a particular line, officially in a line of disciplic succession, they're very particular about their own teachings, and everything has to be referred to their particular teachings. They all have their, what's that word? They've just done it for Iskcon. I can't remember what they call it. A particular kind of set. Actually, Vinod wrote Dasamula. What's it called? Dasamula, yeah, Dasamula. Which puts down in paper the basic tenets of the particular philosophy of your line. So in every line has, and it's not just a few points, but it's extensive in most cases. They have their very strong points of conviction, which they apply in everything they do in their devotion. So in the Madhva Sampradaya, there's too. So this branch, this Gaudiya Sampradaya, didn't have. So then they were being questioned very strongly about your authority. You're not authorized. You're not authorized. You say you're following the Madhva Sampradaya, but you're not. So then, of course, Baladeva Vidyabhushan produced Govinda Bhasya, and that was accepted as the authorized statement of the Siddhanta, the process of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Well, because it was completely in line with all the various scriptural authorities. So similarly, here, in a sense, at least amongst in Vrindavan, particularly with Smarta Brahmins and various other personalities who are there who don't necessarily accept the spontaneous devotion of the followers of Lord Chaitanya. Sanatana Goswami collaborated, sometimes it's said, with Gopalbhatta, because Gopalbhatta Goswami was fully familiar with all of these ritualistic statements, all the rules and regulations of the Vedas and everything like that. So he presented the Vaishnavism in you could say, the language of the scholars, the language of the smartas, the language of the ritualistic Brahmins and so on, in a way that they could appreciate and recognize that Gaudiya Vaishnavas are also, it's founded on authority, it's founded on the proper basis. It's not just a sentiment which has come in from somewhere, but it's based upon Shastra and based upon rules and regulations also. Well, Prabhupada writes about the Hari Bhakti Vilas in different places. He quotes it in many places. But he makes it clear that not all the Hari Bhakti Vilas is necessarily applicable or relevant in all situations. Some statements are. But much of it's not. He said it's applicable particularly to India, where one is faced with these various challenges of persons who, are attached, adamantly attached to the path of rules and regulations, which of course one has to do, but that, as far as they're concerned, is the path. They don't go any further. It's all about do's and don'ts. If you don't wash your hand after picking your nose, you go to a hell called, nose piccaloca or something. I don't know what it's called. Some horrible place. And you have to lie in an ocean of mucus, something like that. All kinds of itty, nitty, little tiny details. And the devotees quote these things quite often. If you don't break the Ekadashi fast at the right time during the right period, you will rot in hell called, Pushpapakakoka or something. And there you will be, whipped and thrashed for millions of years, until you wake up and realize I will never do that again. These type of things, warnings for people. Prabhupada didn't take an awful lot of heed of these particular details, some of them, but some people would get very carried away with all of this. It becomes their, rule of thumb, as they say. They're watching everyone to see if they're... Prabhupada said that the acharya has to be very dexterous to see what works in different places. The whole purpose of the text is to bring people to pure devotional service. It's not to keep you in and locked up in a straitjacket of fear if you move an inch this way or an inch that way. And just trying to impose it upon others. Devotional service doesn't work like that. It's a part of it, a preliminary part. And much of the Hari Bhakti Vilas isn't that either. It's directions for devotees to follow, and also conclusions also. It's full of the conclusions of devotion also. Sometimes because it's a lot easier to depend on these things. It's a lot easier to justify one's situation when one blindly sort of follows. We have to be careful we don't blindly follow. We have to follow, but not blindly. We have to know where we're going, what the direction is, where are we going? What is our goal? Our goal is not just to live. Most religions of today, and most, I don't know, not necessarily, but many times, other devotees, even within Iskcon sometimes, we're just so blindly following and just, so rigid that, even if Krishna were to come along and say, can you come, and we're going on to say, no, you wouldn't budge an inch. You're just so stuck rigidly in some rules and regulations. So they're meant to lead us to a higher plane of devotion. But many people know, they stay at that level. You can't go to the higher plane of devotion without following them. But it's like you're going on a path. Say, for instance, you're going on the road. Where do you want to go? Delhi. Say you want to go to Delhi, heaven knows why. Maybe as a stepping stone to Vrindavan or to visit Iskcon temples. We've just visited a temple in Rohini. How many of you have been to the temple in Rohini? Some of you have been. You were there with me last year, weren't you? Maybe you came with me or not, I don't know. Yeah, before? And you visited also. So it's open now. I don't know if you've been there since it's open. It opened a year ago on Ram Navami. Rasapran, you've been to Rohini, haven't you? Have you been there? Where's my glasses? Are you still there? Huh?
A few days I was there.
He was there a few days. He ran away after a few days. Well, as far as the inner decor is concerned, I would say it's the most beautiful temple in Iskcon, as far as the inner decor. And I don't know if it was completed when we were there, but probably more or less. But what do you call those things inside, under the domes? It's not exactly, it's like an arch, but it's got a name, I can't remember what it is. Huh? Cooper? Something. Whatever it is. Unbelievably beautiful in the ceiling, dancing that goes up like this, two of them. One of them is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary, the one before the deities, absolutely stunning. And the beautiful dioramas on the walls around, and the colourful pillars. It's absolutely stunning. I mean, I was thinking that's what we need in Paris. People, even the French people will come just to look at it, even if they don't look at the deities. You keep the curtains closed, they'll just come to look at the building. They'd be stunned. Stunned. Probably the biggest in Iskcon, I think. Temple hall. It's extreme. Yeah, I could say you easily get, I don't know how many thousands of people, but I mean, Mayapur has 2 halls at the moment, of course. But it's bigger than one of them. Well, it's not as big as the 2 halls put together. It's maybe 1.5 times bigger than one of them. Or maybe a bit more than that, I don't know. It's not as big as the Temple of Vedic Planetarium Hall, but it's something in between. And beautiful, beautiful temple. Very beautiful. Yeah, big. Downstairs they have all kinds of, it's on the 3rd floor, isn't it? 3rd stage up. 3rd stage up. Anyway, beautiful temple, absolutely gorgeous, very attractive. And the temple should be very attractive. So why is it should be? That's why they have beautiful domes and gopurams and so on and so forth, to attract people. The way the churches have beautiful spires and architecture, it attracts people. It should be beautiful for God's pleasure, but it also attracts people. The South India temples are absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? Just from they're so beautiful if they're maintained. They're so beautiful. It's almost impossible feat of architecture when you look at them sometimes. How on earth they made these beautiful temples. Most of the northern temples were destroyed during the Muslim era. Mostly destroyed. There's not much left. But they didn't build much in South India, and somewhere or other most of the temples are preserved. Most of them. Yeah, under the instruction of Rupa and Sanatana, Gopal Bhatta installed one of the 7 principal deities of Vrindavan. And one of the most famous too, isn't it? The Radharaman deity. Very famous. And the story is not told here, so I'll just very briefly tell it. The Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he had all the Goswamis, they were worshipping deities more or less, Radha and Krishna. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he went one time to the Gandaki River, Gandaki River, and as he's bathing there, he had his lota, a little bowl, to bathe with. And when he put his bowl in the river, there were, I think, 12 shilas inside the bowl. And I thought, what's this? Shilas are little, on the altar we have one in front of Radha and Krishna, their shila. And sometimes they can be very small. Some of the devotees here are worshipping shilas also. And he put them back in the river, and he took the lota again. And again they jumped back into the lota. It happened several times, and eventually you realize this must be Krishna's plan. There are different stories. Anyway, this is one story. And so then he accepted that as Krishna's arrangement, and he came back. I can't remember the whole story, I was not prepared. But he came back to Vrindavan with the various shilas, and he began worshipping those shilas in Vrindavan under the direction of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. But he was very much hankering, because shilas don't have a manifested form of Radha and Krishna at least. So he was hankering for that, and one day one rich merchant came to visit his place of worship there in Vrindavan and bought him some beautiful outfits for the worship of Radha, or for Krishna actually, maybe Radha. But he bought these beautiful outfits, and he was thinking, what am I going to do with these? I don't have Krishna. I have Srila. I have Krishna, but not in that form. So that was actually Nishinga Chattadasi. And he was thinking in terms of, my Lord, what am I going to do? And I want to worship you in a form. I would like to worship you. This is a sign. These dresses have come. So he's praying, and nothing's happening. So eventually he took some rest. The next morning when he arose from his very short rest, he went to the place where he worships his Shilas, not necessarily down, but in the place. And he was shocked that one of the Shilas, known to Damodar Shila, he had different names, one of those Shilas had transformed into a beautiful little deity of Krishna. On the back of that Krishna form, it said you can still see the part of the Shila sticking out in his back. It's very rare. I don't know if there's any other example of this where the deity transformed into a two-armed form like this. I don't think so. There are different types of forms. So then he began worshipping, and that deity is very famous. And then Radharani is there. Next to him there's a crown and some cloth, which represents Radharani. So Radharaman. So we know as the Radharaman temple, one is very, very dear to Radharani. So very famous temple, very busy temple in Vrindavan. Prabhupada had a very close relationship with the devotees worshipping that deity also, because he lived very close to much of his time in Vrindavan. He spent more time in the Vamsi Gopalji temple than he did in the Radha Damodar temple, actually, in terms of years. So he was very close there with Radharaman and the Sevites there. He asked the devotees, in the beginning at least, to go there to get some understanding of how to worship the deities. So they did. And they were living close by at Keshigat at that time. And so, a very nice, beautiful temple. And they have a nice system, which we don't have in Iskcon much. Actually, when I was in Auckland, I employed this system that they have. They have a system that every period of time, one family worships the deity. There's like 8, I don't know how many, branches of the family with their wives and children and so on, brothers, maybe. And each month or so, and then they change over. Another family takes the responsibility for the puja. So obviously, we can't expect to imitate that. But we did an experiment in Auckland one time when I was there, that we had one family worship the deity morning to night, 1 day a week. Each Grihastha couple had 1 day a week. They didn't have to dress the days, but they did everything else. They could do that if they wanted. And it wasn't so difficult. It means you woke the deities up, you did all the artis, you cooked some of the offerings, put them together. So 6, 7, it was quite easy. I found it quite easy. 6 or 7 artis a day, and plus, maybe prepare the evening offerings and things like that. Fruit offering and evening offerings. It wasn't so difficult. And every day, 6, 7 families. It worked for a couple of weeks, but we couldn't maintain it. It was an interesting experiment, which they don't experiment. That's their system there, rather than that temple. Because you can't necessarily do everything. It's not difficult to do 6 or 7 artis a day, one person. Yeah. I guess they're all devotees of Lord Chaitanya, this particular line. Radharaman. The Sevites of the Radharaman temple belong, it says here, to the Gaudiya Sampradaya. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took permission from all the Vaishnavas before writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gopalbhatta Goswami also gave him his blessings, but he requested him not to mention his name in the book. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has mentioned Gopalbhatta Goswami only, very cautiously, in one or two passages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Jiva Goswami has written in the beginning of his Tattva Sandarbha, a devotee from southern India who was born of a Brahmin family and was a very intimate friend of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, has written a book that he has not compiled chronologically. Therefore I, a tiny living entity known as Jiva, am trying to assort the events of the book chronologically, consulting the direction of great personalities like Madhvacharya, Sridhar Swami Ramanujacharya, and other senior Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession. In the beginning of the Bhagavat Sandarbha, there are similar statements by Jiva Goswami. He says, Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami compiled a book called Satkriya Saradipika. He edited the Hari Bhakti Vilas. The Satkriya Saradipika gives directions for renunciates, a lot of directions for the Vanaprastha and Sannyas, or those who renounce this world. And the Hari Bhakti Vilas wrote a foreword to Sat Sandarbha. Gopal Bhatta. He wrote a foreword to Jiva Goswami's Sat Sandarbha and a commentary on the Krishna Kanamrita, and installed the Radharaman deity in Vrindavan. In the Gaurgadash Deepika, verse 184, it is mentioned that his previous name in the pastimes of Lord Krishna was Ananga Manjari. Quite a significant Manjari, to say the least. Radharani's youngest sister is the gateway. That's another interesting factor. I don't know if it's related, but the gateway to Krishna Prem, Madhurya Leela, Madhurya Ras, is Ananga Manjari, who is none other than an expansion of Nityananda Prabhu. So another kind of relationship there. We have to go through the path of regulated devotional service, particularly in the form of deity worship. Although we're worshipping Radha Krishna, Prabhupada said we are worshipping in a mood of Lakshmi Narayan because we're following, although it's not spontaneous, it's rules and regulations. This is what Gopal Bhatta is teaching. Rules and regulations so that we can progress to the point above the anarthas, above the modes of nature. Then automatically spontaneity will evolve. Spontaneous devotional service to Krishna is not something which is imposed. It happens naturally as the heart becomes purified by the execution of the regulated devotional service. So Gopal Bhatta had, of course he's not a Vaidhi sadhana bhakta as such, but he's teaching this path, as the Goswamis do. They're teaching all kinds of devotees, no matter what level one's on, how to progress towards the ultimate goal. Sometimes he is also said to have been an incarnation of Guna Manjari. Srinivasacharya and Gopinath Pujari were two of his disciples. Yes, there's a lovely story about that Gopinath Acharya, but maybe some of you can remember it. I can remember vague aspects of it, how when when Gopal Bhatta Goswami was returning from Gandaki River, he stopped in this particular town, little village, and one devotee Brahmin there was very attracted to him, and especially his son. One of his sons was, I think he had a son. No, he didn't have a son, I don't think. I can't remember, as I say, it's a little vague in my memory. But he promised that he would give a son or something to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Later on, that boy appeared in Vrindavan, and he became this Gopinath Acharya. He became the next priest, the priest to look after Radharaman. In that way, the succession came on. He had no actual offspring, so the line of the Sevites was more of a disciplic succession line there, in a sense. But now it's become a family line, of course, for those Swamis. That's the end of the purport. What was the other thing he was very famous for? I think there's something else. I'm in tired mode. I'm in sleep mode this morning. They say you put the mobile on sleep mode. They put me on sleep mode this morning. Anything else? I thought there was something else.
Stress.
He did. And he made that strong point. I don't know, where's that statement? Is it in one of his writings somewhere or somewhere? Yeah. I think it was something else, but I can't remember this moment of time. About Gopal Bhatta Goswami. It was mentioned in the purport that he would spend a lot of time with Rupa and Sanatana discussing exactly as used here about love of God. We discuss love of God. We're not perhaps so much doing like that. We more or less, when we get together, what do you discuss? What do we discuss? Pardon? What do you think? What was the best prasadam? That's one of the popular conversations that devotees have. They may talk about the feast or what their favorite prasad or what the prasad over there was like. And you may be attracted to go to a different temple because the prasad is so good over there. We may discuss about the deities sometimes, how beautiful they are, how they're dressed, and so on. You may discuss about each other's services. You may discuss about your pastimes of the day on Sankirtan or wherever you were. You may discuss other related topics like health or family or something like that. You may discuss how we spread the Krishna consciousness movement. What else might you discuss? How to do things within the movement, how to fix the tap that doesn't work upstairs in the brahmachari bathroom. It would be nice if someone could fix it. That there's only boiling hot water, the cold one doesn't work. And the other one doesn't work either because it's blocked. And as soon as you turn the tap on, all the gunk comes up from underneath. You can't wash anything in it. Somebody's washing their dirty, well not dirty, their plates and pouring all the prasadam down the plates so that it gets stuck in the pipe. And all the prasad comes up when you pour water into it. So you've got two choices, either filthy water in one or boiling water in the other. Two choices. Yeah, yeah. This morning when I had to do it, I got a bucket with cold water from the dirty one into the bucket and mixed it with the hot water in the boiling hot one so I could wash my, you know what. It's impossible to do it otherwise. I don't know how you do it, I don't know. Magic. It's very easy to unplug, by the way. I would do it myself, but you just have to take the time to do it. Well, it should be, as long as the plumber did his proper job. I think I unplugged it once before. I like unplugging sinks, by the way. It's fun. You just have to know what you're in for, that's all. But you'll be taken by surprise. You'll be covered by all this filthy, dirty slop water. Yeah, it would be nice to fix, wouldn't it? I don't know whether by the tap, you turn it to the cold, nothing comes out of it. I don't know why.
Because it's leaking. There is one for the cold, one for the hot.
Uh-huh.
The cold one is leaking.
Oh, that's nice.
So then we turn it off.
Oh, you turn it off.
And there is only the hot one.
Oh, that makes good
it's
sense. Yeah, but there's no choice. It's just only boiling water. No problem. So it's a good idea to fix it. It's nice to turn it off. That's better than the way we'd be having a shower down here or in the kitchen, isn't it? The kitchen. We'd be having a shower in the kitchen. The better thing is to fix it. Yeah, we may not be able to fix it, but we have to get someone who can fix it.
Oh yeah, we have everything to do it. We just need the information.
Information, yeah, well, I'm giving you information.
So,
I'll give you a list. I'll give you a little more longer list if you want.
looking forward.
It's brahmachari life, They should make a rule. If they don't bring these things up and do something about it, they should get married, okay? Good rule. Because the wife will always bring it up. She'll mash you with a frying pan if you don't fix it or something. The brahmacharis, they just leave it, go to another one, until that doesn't work, then go to another one. Right? So it works. The shower doesn't work down there, just go upstairs, never mind, just leave it, And if that one's dirty, I'll go in the next one. Yeah, the sinks were also filthy when I went in there this morning. Somebody used it and made it dirty. So every time I have to clean the sink before I can brush my teeth or anything. Somebody before had left it dirty. That means somebody used it. And somebody probably in this room, maybe not, likes to leave the sink dirty. It's not very favorable for Krishna consciousness, to say the least. We should leave it cleaner than it was when we came in, not dirtier. Little things like this, they're all important to help us to become Krishna conscious. So, Hare Krishna. Well, it's 9 something. And Harinam is going out. They're going to Garsasal. And they're going to clean up in Garsasal. There's a lot of cleaning to do there. Make sure you take your brushes and brooms with you when you go. One day we should all go there, the sanctum party, with brushes, chant and sweep the whole area there, brooms. That would be quite a novelty. 20 devotees all with brooms, sweeping the floor. I don't know if they like it or not. Maybe not. They like the dirt. Huh? Is it getting better? That's because of your chanting there, purifying their hearts. When Prabhupada one time, Pancha Dravida came to see him in Vrindavan. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. Pancha Dravida Prabhu at the time was in Bombay. He came to ask Prabhupada if he could take sannyas. So Prabhupada said, "How are things going in Bombay?" And Pancha Dravida said, "Not so good, Prabhupada." And Prabhupada said, what's not so good? He said, "Very, very dirty." He came to ask for sannyas, but Prabhupada was talking about this. "Very dirty," Prabhupada said. He said to him, "That means you are not chanting your 16 rounds." "Prabhupada, I'm chanting my 16 rounds." "No, it means you're not chanting your 16 rounds." He came to ask to take sannyas, so he's going to get in word at this point of time. And no, Prabhupada, honestly, I'm chanting. If you were chanting your 16 rounds, it wouldn't be dirty, he said. Chaito Dapana March. Bhava Mahata. So, okay, mechanically we're chanting, but if we were actually chanting, it wouldn't be dirty, Prabhupada said. You clean it. Wouldn't maybe create dirt in the first place. Sometimes we throw things on the floor. We open up a new packet of soap and leave the soggy piece of paper or cardboard lying around. Or old toothpaste tube or something. All these things are indication of our lack of Krishna consciousness and perpetuating our lack of Krishna consciousness. We're being conscious as much as we can. And we're not perfect, we make mistakes, but much as we can. Try to be clean and tidy. And lovingly remind others. You don't have to scream your head off. But lovingly remind each other. I see there's a nice sign there. It says, please clean the toilet after use. The toilet. I hope this. I didn't check it out. I didn't have enough time. But I hope there's sufficient things there to clean the toilet with. Sometimes you put a sign there, but there's nothing to clean it with. Sometimes to use your hand, you know. I presume there is. I'm not saying there isn't, by the way. It's nice. Nice mentality. Clean the shower after using it and so on. Don't leave your, your dirty stuff lying around in the shower room. Little things like this all add up. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So all these rules of cleanliness or whatever, you'll find many of them in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, different directions in daily worship and so on. Some of them are not so applicable, not so necessary in certain situations. If all you're doing is you're worshipping in South India, and that's all you're doing, and your sadhana will be to try to apply all these rules and regulations. But our sadhana is basically chanting Hare Krishna, and that which is favorable, to facilitate the chanting of the holy name. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Two questions from Yasomati. He had two hands up. Nice to be back in Paris, huh? Able to go out into the Harinam. Nice thing about being in a city, you can go out on Sankirtan. Yes? Yeah? No? What's that? I wonder what's for breakfast this morning.